Welcome to another edition of Inside Off-Road as we head for Mooi River and round 6 of the KwaZulu-Natal Off-Road Championship. The Roco 250 was based at the popular Sierra Ranch Resort on the outskirts of Mooi River and offered more proof that off-road racing in KwaZulu-Natal is alive and well. Organised by the Natal Off-Road Motor Club in association with Rotary International and the Cancer Association of South Africa, the Sierra Ranch complex offered a tranquil setting for the event, with the Natal Midlands providing for what would be a tough but scenic route. The KwaZulu-Natal Off-Road Championship has over the years served as an important nursery for the ABSA Off-Road Championship. The Roco 250, or Race of Champions event, was run for the first time last year, and there was a festival atmosphere at race headquarters at the Sierra Ranch.
Right, Roco is the Race of Champions Off-Road. Was started last year to introduce off-road racing back into the public domain and give the public a chance to become involved with off-road racing, see what it's about, and also to up the game with our sponsors so that they have more exposure. And so the initiative was a brainchild of some of the Rotary and Cancer clubs of this area in conjunction with the Natal Off-Road Motor Club. So Sierra Ranch have kindly offered the event location as a sponsor, and we're able to hold a full regional event this year. And that's really upped the game. We've got a full field of 30 competitors. We have the off-road 4x4 fraternity also involved now, and they make up, I think, 30 or 40 competitors. And Cancer and Rotary are absolutely over the moon. They've got good sponsorship through Dezo and Bass Beams this year, and we're actually making a showcase for KZN to bring people out, have a good day in the sun, and make it enjoyable for everybody.
There was the usual pre-race activity in the pits with last-minute adjustments to machinery. There's an old adage that races are won in the workshop, and a great deal of time and energy goes into preparing race cars. Daniel Brooks competes at regional and national level, and race car preparation is almost a full-time job.
I've got a guy luckily that works for us that pretty much preps a car. I'd say out of a week he probably spends about 3 solid days on it each week of the month. So yeah, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of prep work. A lot of it is maintenance, come preventative maintenance, because obviously, as you know, the nutrition rates in these races are quite high. So yeah, it's important to have the car right, and your preparation has to be good, otherwise you're travelling a long way to go home sad.
Making your off-road debut can be a nervy business, but Rob Alexander was looking forward to sitting alongside Daniel Brooks for the first time.
First time out, and yeah, anyway, I've been reading the notes, memorizing things, and let's see what happens. Hopefully we get back in one piece.
One of the attractions of regional off-road racing is the variety of machinery on view. Home-built specials, single-seaters and cars from yesteryear race alongside vehicles of more recent vintage and provide for interesting contrasts.
Well, it's been good, eh? 3 years now, I've probably not finished 3 races. So reliability is there, so yeah, no, it'll be good, eh? It's going to be wet today, so we're going to have to make a plan and get things going, but yeah, you can finish the race, you get good points, so.
In a novel departure from the norm, start positions for the Donaldson Prologue to determine the race grid were decided by time set on a super special stadium stage. Cars race side by side on a mirror image 4-kilometre circuit, with the start order determined by a seeding list based on previous results during the season. It was a fun way to start proceedings, and the stadium stage certainly supplied spectators with plenty of entertainment as drivers enjoyed throwing the cars around with gay abandon. There were also times when competitors spent as much time off the circuit as on the track. The little cricket class cars powered by motorcycle engines were in their element, while some of the bigger cars were a handful on the tight circuit. With some who were a little overzealous. unanimous agreement among crews that the stadium stage was a great success and a lot of fun. Spectators were enthusiastic, and it was hats off to the organisers for bringing a fresh concept to the KwaZulu-Natal Championship. Later in the day, competitors in the KZN Championship classes faced a 40-kilometre prologue to determine race start positions and would complete 3 loops of a 50-kilometre course. Cricket class and clubmen's competitors would complete 2 circuits of the course, and the stadium time trial was the ideal way to warm up for what lay ahead. When the dust had settled on the stadium stage, the quickest time went to Club A crew Reg Sutton and Rob Hanbury in a Zarko. They had a handy lead over Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher in a bat. Gary Campbell was the first of the Class B competitors, with Duncan Dean leading the cricket contingent.
I think it was a lot of fun. I think it's a different dimension to the race, and I'd actually like to see them do 2 laps of that and then maybe do away with the prologue.
The Donaldson prologue to decide grid positions for the race was to provide for some interesting racing. Time trial winners Reg Sutton and Rob Hanbury were first on the road in the Zarko, with Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher the next crew to come under starters' orders. Barnes and Usher were quick to build up a head of steam in one of the first bat models built in South Africa, with the car powered by a 3-litre Nissan engine. In a turn-up for the books, the Class A contingent were in for a surprise, with Gary Campbell setting the fastest time and taking the Class B honours in a beautifully turned-out Mighty Mag. The Class A honours went to Reg Sutton and Rob Hanbury, with the Zarko pair 20 seconds slower than Gary Campbell and 3 seconds quicker than the bat entries of Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher and Daniel Brooks and Rob Alexander, who were credited with identical times. Barnes and Usher spent most of the 40-kilometre prologue fighting a running battle with the versatile Gary Campbell. When he is not driving in the KZN series, Campbell co-drives for Clint Gibson in the ABSA Off-Road Championship, with the pair currently in the top 10 in the overall standings. On occasion, Campbell in the single-seater Mighty Mag and Barnes and Usher were also a little at odds over the route. Behind Barnes and Usher, there was one of those interesting situations that crop up from time to time in off-road racing. The Ducati's bat combination of Daniel Brooks and debutant Rob Alexander were classified 3rd in Class A, although the 2 crews posted identical times. An inferior seeding dropped Brooks and Alexander down a notch, but after a disappointing time trial, the pair started 13th on the road and did well to work their way through slower traffic. Overtaking is not always an easy process in off-road races. The lack of dust on the route was a factor that favoured Daniel Brooks and Rob Alexander, and the pair were given plenty of cooperation by slower crews who politely moved out of the way. A steady run took the experienced Marcus Taylor and Derek Keith into 2nd place in Class B in a JRE. The pair were 47 seconds adrift of prologue and Class B winner Gary Campbell, and like Daniel Brooks and Rob Alexander, ahead of them were another crew who had to work their way through slower traffic after a disappointing time in the Stadium Super Special. Taylor and Keith started 21st on the road, and with the courtesy and cooperation from slower traffic were making up places. The pair appeared to be enjoying themselves. There was another steady run from Leon Botma and Quinton Brand in a bat, with the pair no strangers to the ABSA National Series. They were 19 seconds adrift of Marcus Taylor and Derek Keith, and just over a minute behind Gary Campbell. Portman and Brand were followed by James Watson in another Mighty Mag single-seater, who ended up 3 minutes and 42 seconds behind Gary Campbell. Next up was the Staffix Viper of Underberg crew John Thompson and Ian Crouch, with the pair 4 minutes and 19 seconds behind the Class B leader. The cricket class is an entry-level category in the KZN Championship, with cars powered by motorcycle engines with a capacity of not more than 450cc. Roger Curran has opened up a gap at the front of the crickets and was running ahead of former South African rally champion Tony Ball in the Bulwer Park JRE, with the Durban garage owner running 6th in Class B. A little further back, Mark and Sherry Mumford were leading the clubman class in a Marco, with the pair followed by Ralph Voigt, who was competing in only his second off-road race in a pretty and nicely turned out Mighty Mag, bought from Reg Sutton's co-driver Rob Hanbury. There was a gap of more than 4.5 minutes between Roger Curran and George Diache, who was running second in the cricket class, where the frames are imported from China and modified for South African conditions. Diache was being chased by Bruce Braithwaite and Adam Jewell, who were lying third in the clubman class in a Nissan hardbody, with the pair 2 minutes and 34 seconds behind class leaders Mark and Sherry Mumford. Behind the Nissan time trial winner, Duncan Dean had slipped back to third among the crickets and trailed Roger Curran by 12.5 minutes. There was a boost for the Class B contingent, with Gary Campbell winning the Donaldson Prologue ahead of 3 Class A crews. 5 other Class B cars were in the top 10, along with cricket winner Roger Curran.
Need a bar key? Get a Photon Thunder for only $1950 a month. Standard with power steering, radio CD player, plus a 3-year 100,000-kilometer warranty. Yours for only $1950 per month. VAT-registered businesses get VAT back. Photon, quality first, value always.
New cars, used cars, resale values, monthly installments. We talk about it all in the new season of Buyer's Guide.
Okay, tell us your problem, Rajan.
I think there are bad vehicles out
Okay,
there.
see, well,
Between the two, I would go for the SUV.
you want to be selling it under 100.
Tune in every week as Segi Mudli, along with his panel, get to grips with the local car market and try and help you find the best bang for your buck.
C63, do you owe any money on that? The X3 is definitely not a butch car.
Look at buying a pre-owned car.
Remember, if you want to get your question answered on the show, send an email to buyersguide@ignitiontv.co.za. Include as many details as possible, and we'll try our best to steer you in the right direction. That's Buyer's Guide, every weekend, only on Ignition.
Cities were growing by the day, but as the new buildings grew taller, the roads surrounding them just couldn't keep up. Then along came the Michelin Man, reminding us that the right tire changes everything. Stronger, more durable, the Michelin Energy XM2 tire comes with a pothole guarantee. Michelin, a better way forward.
Apart from sorting out race grid positions, the Donaldson Prologue gave crews a taste of what to expect during 3 laps of the 50-kilometer course. Frontrunner Arthur Barnes made some interesting observations.
The first lap was very wet, especially up on the top of the mountain. There's some red mud up there, but very, very technical and tight. It's not a fast race. The only section that's fast is on the back here. But this slippery, I think it'll only dry out by the 3rd lap. So we're going to have to take it easy, but it's quite rough. So I think if we want to finish today, we're going to have to race with our heads instead of our feet.
As is the case with the ABSA Off-Road Championship, races are run in real time, with cars starting according to their Donaldson Prologue times. This provides for plenty of action and close racing from the word go, with the opening stretch on the time trial route the dustiest section of the course. As the race got underway, the big question on everyone's minds was how long Prologue winner Gary Campbell and the Mighty Mag could hold off the Class A big guns. Barring accidents and breakdowns, there were unlikely to be any early changes in pecking order while crews worked their way through the stadium section. It was out on the course that Gary Campbell was going to feel the pressure from the Class A runners. And with only 3 seconds separating the first 3 Class A cars, the situation at the front of the field could not have been more interesting. There was likely to be some fierce competition in Class B, but the opposition would have to go some to catch Campbell. The first lap of the Roco 250 in the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands, and it did not take long for Reg Sutton and Rob Hanbury to catch and pass prologue winner Gary Campbell in the Mighty Mag. The Class B leader was also starting to come under pressure from Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher in the bat, and there was no way Campbell was going to be able to hold off the bigger and more powerful Class A cars. With Barnes and Usher closing in on him, Gary Campbell faced another problem. Driving and navigating was going to put some pressure on him. Race cam footage from the Barnes-Usher car shows Campbell on the wrong route after making a wrong turn. It was an error that saw Campbell hand second place to Barnes and Usher, with the Class B leader now being chased by Daniel Brooks and Rob Alexander in the Ducatis bat. A little further back, it was not turning into a happy day for Marcus Taylor and Derek Keith, who were lying second in Class B. With the JRE plagued by a misfire, the pair dropped a place when they politely moved over to let through the bat of Leon Botma and Quinton Brand. Their trials and tribulations were not yet over for the unfortunate Taylor and Keith. A little further down the road, the pair strayed off the route. While they were sorting out that little error, Taylor and Keith had a bird's eye view of James Watson relegating them to 4th in class as he stormed past in his Mighty Mag. A 6-sounding JRE only added to their woes, and after starting the day 47 seconds behind Class B leader Gary Campbell, the unfortunate Taylor and Keith were now nearly 7 minutes in arrears. If it was of any consolation to them, Taylor and Keith were not the only crew in trouble. Early race leaders Sutton and Hanbury were stranded on the side of the road with suspension damage, and their race was over. The Staffix Viper of John Thompson and Ian Crouch was now 5th and closing in on Marcus Taylor and Derek Keith. Behind the Underberg crew, veteran Tony Ball was a solid 6th in the Bulwer Park JRE and had a lead of over 30 seconds over Ian McLean and Luke van Dort in a Zarco Light. There were plenty of former competitors and off-road enthusiasts along the route enjoying an early summer's day in the sun. Also enjoying themselves were Mark and Sherry Mumford, who were running at the front of the clubman class in the Marco. The father and daughter pair had a comfortable 32-second lead over Rolf Voigt, who was having only his second outing in the Mighty Mag. Behind the 2 clubman class entries, prologue winner Curran was still in charge of the cricket class. Curran was now nearly 7 minutes ahead of George de Jager, who had lost ground during the first of the 2 laps the crickets would complete. The clubman class competitors would complete 2 laps with Clive Horner in a Sandmaster, around 13 minutes off the pace set by class leaders Mark and Sherry Mumford. The Sandmaster was running just ahead of Duncan Dean, who was now nearly 15 minutes behind Curran in the cricket class. On now to lap 2 of the Roco 250, round 6 of the KwaZulu-Natal Off-Road Championship on a warm and sunny day in the Natal Midlands. Former driver Don Thompson was among the spectators, with Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher starting to take control of the race following the demise of early leaders Reg Sutton and Rob Hanbury. Barnes and Usher had started 3rd on the road, but the Sutton-Hanbury retirement and a mistake from prologue winner Campbell lifted Barnes and Usher into the lead. In a terrific performance, Class B leader Campbell was still 2nd overall, with the Mighty Mag running ahead of Brooks and Alexander in the Ducatis bat. The pair lost a few seconds when they strayed off the route, but after a quick stop to check their bearings were again mobile. After starting the day 3rd in Class B, the back pair of Botma and Brand had picked up a place when Marcus Taylor and Derek Keith ran into trouble and were just over 4 minutes behind class leader Campbell. Botma and Brand had around 2 minutes in hand over third place James Watson in another of the impressive single-seater Mighty Mags. With the Clubman class entries required to only complete 2 laps of the course, the father and daughter team of Mark and Sherry Mumford were heading for victory in the Marco. The Mumfords were just over a minute ahead of Ralph Voigt, who had given them a run for their money in another Mighty Mag. Also heading for victory was Roger Curran, who dominated the cricket class on the Donaldson Prologue and in the race. Curran was now more than 8 minutes clear of George de Jager. It was also a nice day for flying, but down on the ground, perseverance was the name of the game, with Clive Horner soldiering on to finish a lonely third in the Clubman class. At the end of the second loop, there was a compulsory 15-minute halt for the Class A and Class B competitors at the designated service park at the Sierra Ranch. After a lucky escape out on the route, Gary Campbell was a relieved man.
Yeah, I had to, it was either a roll or a fence. I'd picked the fence. But hooked into a caution and it nearly went over.
For Gary Campbell's service crew, untangling barbed wire fencing from suspension bits was a tough job, while Reg Sutton gave reasons for his retirement.
Yeah, unfortunately we broke a front upright just about 500 meters from the end of the first lap, and there's no ways we can repair it, so we out.
The final results in the cricket class reflected a comfortable win for Roger Curran after a dominant performance. He came in 8 minutes ahead of George de Jager, with Duncan Dean a long way behind in third. On the Clubman's front, victory for the Mumfords by just over a minute from Ralph Voigt, with Clive Horner a distant third ahead of Kim Hunter and Brett Holtz. On to the final lap of the Roco 250, round 6 of the KwaZulu-Natal Off-Road Championship, with Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher in full control of proceedings at the front of the field in a bat. Barnes and Usher moved into the lead when Reg Sutton and Rob Hanbury were forced to retire on the first lap, and it gradually edged away to open up a 6-minute gap over Gary Campbell in the Mighty Mag. On the way to putting the final touches to a workmanlike performance, Barnes and Usher were going past cricket class competitors still on their second lap. The drive of the day came from Class B leader Gary Campbell. With the Mighty Mag now free from barbed wire impediments, Campbell had managed to maintain a gap of around a minute over Daniel Brooks and Rob Alexander, who was second in Class A, but had fallen to nearly 7 minutes behind Barnes and Usher. Behind the Class A car, James Watson was now running second in Class B, but the Mighty Mag was almost 14 minutes behind the flying Gary Campbell. In another Class B change, veteran Tony Ball had moved into third place in the Bulwer Park JRE and had closed within 16 seconds of Watson. Problems for Leon Botma and Quinton Brand had seen the Bat crew slip from second in class to fourth, and they were now over 21 minutes behind Campbell. Towards the back of the Class B field, Ian McLean and Luke van Dort had moved ahead of the unfortunate Marcus Taylor and Derek Keith, who started the day second in Class B. Plagued throughout the race by a misfire, the JRE crew had gradually slipped down the pecking order and still found the time to sportingly stop and offer help to other competitors stranded on the side of the track. Despite the persistent misfire, Taylor and Keith refused to throw in the towel and were eventually classified 6th in Class B ahead of Rob Spencer and Kevin Teron in a Zarco Light. Back at the finish, a welcoming committee of 2 was on hand for Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher as they completed what was a timely win for the pair.
It's been a bit of an issue this year because we changed cars with Daniel, so we've been doing a lot of work on the car to get it where we want it, and we haven't won a race, so this is our first win in this car. So we are lagging a bit in the points, but I think the fact that Reg didn't finish and Lance withdrew his entry, I think it puts us back in the running for the championship, so we're very pleased about that. And yeah, we had a good day. It's a very challenging and technical course. We kept it tidy, and my navigator was fantastic. It was calling it as it should be, and we enjoyed it. First lap was very slippery and muddy, so that was posed a few problems. And then we settled down and it started drying out for the second lap, and the third lap was fantastic. We had a good run.
In the end, a comfortable win for Arthur Barnes and Anthony Usher ahead of Class B hero Gary Campbell. Daniel Brooks and Rob Alexander completed the podium, with the rest of the top 10 filled by Class B cars. The special vehicle category in the KwaZulu-Natal Regional Off-Road Championship is split into two classes. As is to be expected, there are different rules and regulations covering Class A and Class B, with engine capacity first on the list. Former South African rally champion Tony Ball clarifies the rules.
Class B is up to 2 litre and Class A is over 2 litre. Some of the guys are running 3.5 litre V6s, some are running V8s. That's basically it, 2 litre and above.
When it comes to other rules and regulations in the KZN Regional Series, it is pretty much a case of anything goes. Unlike many other categories of motorsport, there is no daunting list of do's and don'ts.
The cars are pretty free, eh? That's what's so nice about off-road. You know, you can put any shock you want, any brakes you want, and there's no homologation rubbish. So it really is a cheap form of motorsport.
Gary Campbell almost pulled off a win for the Class B Brigade on the Roco 250, with race conditions the major difference in the battle between the more powerful Class A cars and the nimble Class B vehicles.
On the more technical routes, we're a bit tight and twisty. The B's obviously got an advantage, like these little Mighty Mags. I used to have one. They're incredible in the tight stuff. I mean, they're like driving a go-kart. But when the road opens up and it's some big bumps in it, and obviously the big A cars take it.
The Natal Off-Road Motor Club will next year celebrate its 30th anniversary. Since its inception, the club has played a major role in the development of off-road racing in KwaZulu-Natal and South Africa, and down the years has produced a string of national and regional champions. And with stable management and a large membership, stalwart club members like Gavin Gray see a bright future for the club.
Yes, we do. With our 30 years coming up, we see a lot of advantages. We're one of the few clubs where we've still got founder members of 30 years ago still competing, and people actively involved with the sport. And we are planning a whole year of celebrations at every event. So we're seeing, from a marketing perspective, we'd like to grow another 5, maybe possibly 10 new competitors next season. That is our aim.
KwaZulu-Natal also hosts ABSA National Championship events and offers the sport a wide range of challenging routes.
Yes, it is. I think KZN, we are the choice of all the provinces where we've got good riding terrain and good countryside. We have everything that goes from the hills right down to the sea. We've got sugarcane fields. We've got areas where there's a lot of timber. So we're very diverse, and we're in a very close proximity to our hub of the sport, which has been Pietermaritzburg for the last number of years. But one of our things has been that the KZN guys do tend to enjoy getting out into the mountains, and we go to very different communities, and we see it as a positive for motorsport in KZN.
By all accounts, off-road racing in KwaZulu-Natal is in good hands. Next up on the ABSA Off-Road Championship calendar is a trip to the Free State for the Himon Auto 400 in Tabanchu on October the 19th and 20th, with championship points high on the agenda.